Dynamite download.
Welcome to Dynamite Download.
Welcome back, everybody. We are fresh off the heels of winter is coming. I got the jacket on, bundled up tight out here with the Christmas lights on. We are so geeked to talk about tonight's show. All of you have been buzzing. As a matter of fact, AEW Dynamite trended number 1 on Twitter this week because of you, Dynamite Nation. We were so excited to see that tonight's show, and boy, did it deliver. SPD, do you have out your broom? Because your man Kenny Omega, the cleaner, is now your AEW World Heavyweight Champion. What an incredible way to end that show. And man, all of us were buzzing about that match in particular. What a way to end it, huh?
I know. I mean, I'm still kind of just like so many unanswered questions here. And, you know, this is like we talked about last week and the week before. We're going to continue the trend and starting with the main event. But first, let's review the match card here. Run us down the results of what happened this week on Winter is Coming.
I mean, obviously, all of you guys and girls out there in AEW Nation were dialed in from the start. This show started off with a bang with that Dynamite Diamond ring up for grabs. Orange Cassidy with the surprise win, really coming out of nowhere. We talked to a lot of you fans. We were following Twitter. People were guessing Miro was going to come up big. You and I last week, we talked Wardlow and Sammy Guevara. We both got those two. And our guys did do well in that performance tonight. But
for sure,
Orange Cassidy and MJF won the Battle Royal, and they will be going head-to-head next week to determine who wins that. Is MJF going to come out on top and be able to defend? We'll see. Speaking of MJF, his fellow Inner Circle member, Chris Jericho, the leader of the Inner Circle, really had a lot on his hands tonight with Frankie Kazarian, and the post-match stuff that happened with the Inner Circle really overshadowed a lot of what happened in the ring. We really have a lot to talk about when it comes to the Inner Circle tonight. Britt Baker, your favorite heel and mine, really tore the house down tonight, and we got to see SPD. I know you had to be smiling ear to ear when we talk about that women's division. You got to build the core.
That's
and when you talk core of AEW's women's division, there's nobody bigger than Britt Baker. That person is a star, and then you add Thunder Rosa to that mix. Wow, is that going to be exciting television?
Oh, for sure.
We did see Cody Rhodes and Darby Allin beat Team Taz. I was surprised to see that tonight, coming off of Ricky Starks and Brian Cage winning last time with these two teams that went head-to-head. I had a feeling that it was going to be a clean sweep. But no, Cody and Darby won that match. And, man, talk about matches being overshadowed by the post-match shenanigans. The things that we saw after that, the return of Sting to TNT television, unbelievable. The goosebumps that we were feeling. If you didn't get the chills from Winter is Coming, you definitely got it when you saw Sting on television tonight. What an icon. And to pair him up with Darby Allin, I think so many Darby Allin fans across the world are going to be ecstatic about this one. It really solidifies their investment in him as a character. Can't wait to talk more about that with you, SPD.
I know.
And then the match of all matches, everybody, Kenny Omega finally beat Jon Moxley. Jon Moxley, undefeated in his AEW career, lost tonight to Kenny Omega, and it was not in a way that we thought was going to happen. Kenny is well known for his in-ring prowess. He actually made it a sort of a gentleman's agreement last week, and JR kind of called him on it about this going to be a clean wrestling match, and then we see him stoop to the microphone shot to Moxley's head at the end there, busting him open. What were your thoughts on this as the Kenny Omega mark of our team here, SPD? I'm going to let you gush and enjoy your moment before I chime in. Tell me about it. What are you thinking, bud? How you feeling about your Kenny Omega winning the championship?
I'm
Sweep it
sweeping my
up.
way. I'm cleaning my hotel room really good tonight with that broom. But I'm ecstatic. I'm very happy. Every week building up to this, and even months before this, I was ready for Kenny to take the title. The way he took it, I was definitely shocked by, and I have a lot of questions of wondering like what's going to happen next. And the match itself, I thought was a great build. It wasn't rushed at all. And you're talking about the whole gentleman's agreement and how he was doing that. And I was kind of surprised when they kept going to picture in picture and how they were like still battling in the crowd. And
Yeah.
because of that gentleman's agreement, and then the shenanigans, and clearly you can see in this photo that Kenny really did bash his eye. And so at first I didn't think it was a mark or not. I thought it was like pretty legit. And then when I saw the TNA Callus, or what is, I'm not even sure his
Yeah.
name. Sorry, come down there and then kind of do some piss poor acting. I'm like, okay, this is a shoot a little bit, but it is, but it isn't. But look at his eye. I mean, clearly he got some kind of stinger above his eye.
Well,
But
this match was incredibly physical. We don't know when that may have
oh,
happened. Honestly, to me, when Moxley set the chairs down and those two started exchanging those
oh
slaps
my
and then eventual
gosh.
punches,
Oh,
I don't know about you, man, but that was legitimately like,
whew.
wow. That was one of those moments that
I know.
we are accustomed to seeing such entertaining high stakes energetic stuff out of wrestling these days, pro wrestling. You see people doing jumps off of ladders, you see people doing these unbelievable acrobatics. We talk about Ray Phoenix all the time on this show, right? But sometimes it's just the
Brutal.
impact of a slap in the face or a punch to the jaw goes so much further than any sort of acrobatic move that you could ever put out there. This
Oh my
was one of those
gosh.
matches where you just when those two were going, just sitting there slugging it out. It
Brutal.
was pretty brutal to watch, wasn't it?
Oh, it was definitely brutal. And I was just like, it almost feels like you're fighting with your best friend, where you're just like, it starts off playing games, then one guy hits you a little bit harder, and then another harder, and then a harder, and then harder and harder, and then it like gets really out of hand quick. And so that's
Yep.
how I felt the way it was. And I had no idea what they're planning on doing with those chairs, but it was a pivotal moment in the match. It kind of slowed it down and then sped it right back up. And then shortly after that, Kenny's laying down those V triggers after V triggers, and those
Oh
are
my god.
brutal
Oh,
alone. So not only are you
oh.
getting these slaps to the face, you're getting the punches to the face, and you're getting these V triggers. And then, Kenny finally got, swinging momentum there. It was a well wrestled match. It had a
Oh
good
gosh.
pace. It
Yeah.
definitely had the huge match build, huge match feel to it. It wasn't rushed at all. And the Road to episode that AEW put out on Monday, building up to this match, just was getting me so excited. Like I almost like couldn't sleep because I was just so excited for this match because of the build. And like you talked about last week, Kenny Omega versus John Moxley 3. We're ready for it now,
I
but
know,
we're
right?
okay with the build. It will come
Yeah.
and it will be huge.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be what it was tonight. It's going to be something totally unexpected. I'm definitely happy for Kenny Omega, and this is what's I was happy with Moxley being the champ, and he was a great fighting
Yeah.
champ. He was definitely reliable, but this just sets the stage for a lot of fresh things to happen with both guys, and I'm excited for it. The match and everything was an elite. I'm happy for Kenny Omega and John Moxley. It doesn't really do it's a notch on his record as a loss, yes, but Kenny cheating to get that win essentially, and then to leave Moxley bloodied in the ring, just staring at the camera until you fade to black. Like that's a compelling story in and amongst itself. And then like what we're going to see on Tuesday, we're like Tuesday, and then this whole tie in with Impact. There's a lot of head scratching things to be answered, and it leaves you really itching for more already.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you nailed a lot of different points there, SPD. Um, One of the things that I will say is, last week I was already saying, man, I already want to see Kenny Omega and Moxley 3. And
Yeah.
part of the reason why I was saying that is, and this was something that you kept hammering on, is, man, it feels like this winter is coming, this match between Omega and Moxley. We could have months of build of that, right? Like
Yeah.
the character work that these two guys do. When we talk about John Moxley, his ability to cut a promo, his ability to draw you in on his character. Tonight was another example. Not necessarily the promo work, but I felt for Moxley during this match. I
Yeah.
don't know about you guys out there in AEW Nation, but there were moments when you really like Omega was laying in some of those chops tonight.
Yes, he
And
was.
there were moments when you really, and with the way that Moxley was selling the knee, Moxley did an incredible job. There were a lot of people buzzing about the storytelling in the match tonight. And I have to say, I know Kenny Omega is typically known for, putting on kind of more of a spot fest match. He worked really well with Moxley in this one. Their ability to convey a story tonight. And Kenny, after the match, like you talked about, running off with the belt, ending that match in a dubious fashion, and then kind of leaving us with this teaser of a pairing now with TNA, Impact Wrestling.
Right.
To have that tie-in, we've benefited so much as a fan base from AEW's willingness to be open to work with other companies. We know NWA being one of them, right? Now this is a great example. Impact Wrestling being another. We as wrestling fans are benefiting from that, right? And the more open and willing we approach the wrestling business, we recognize that there's so much talent out there. And I think that, this is an example, not to get on the soapbox, but we as fans sometimes we get caught up in this war. We get caught up in the NXT versus Dynamite war, AEW versus WWE war. It's not about that, guys. For me, I love AEW because I love examples like we just saw tonight. They are open and willing to admit that there are other companies that do great things out there other than AEW.
Yeah.
And yes, they want to be great. They want to be a great company, and they want
are
to
a
put
great
on
company.
great television for us. And they put on weekly a show that we love, but they want to work with other companies out there to help expose what they do well too. I think the healthier the wrestling business is, the better it is for all of us. So I think that maybe we should take a lesson learned from Tony and the leadership team at AEW, and maybe stop battling each other so much on this stuff, and really start embracing what makes this great. To me, this was a match that I can't wait to see what happens on Tuesday night now. I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to tune into Impact. For me, there are a lot of companies that are on my weekly rotation. AEW is my number one, and it always will be. I love this company, but Thunder Rosa and Ricky Starks have certainly made me more aware of what's going on in NWA.
Yeah,
I think this is going to be an example of other companies benefiting from this relationship. That said,
I agree, man.
Yeah, right.
It helps everyone out. I mean, we're all at the end of, like I showed that graphic, being Orange Cassidy, we're all wrestling fans. If, as Excalibur says, give the people what they want, hug it out, man. I think it would have been an awesome move if Impact was on, let's say, a Monday or a Friday, where they could have really said F you, essentially, like kind of to the ratings that way. So it would have been a little bit more impactful if it was on that. But I'm definitely going to tune in on Tuesday to see what happens. Yeah. And just more eyes on any product is good for the business, man. I mean, we all want wrestling to succeed. Yes, we have our critiques, because as fans, we want the best for the product. I have critiques in many different levels, but it's not that I don't hate the product. We just want it to be better. And we as fans, want our voice to be heard. And I think we do get heard in some sense or another. Absolutely. Of pushing the product. I mean, we talked about, we're not the only ones that are rooting for the women's division to grow. I'm seeing all of our other interactions on social media. A lot of the other podcasts and a lot of the other fans online are in the same position. And it's
100%.
like, unless it's just the stars aligning at the right time, it seems like the higher ups and the division is listening to their fans about growing in women's division, which we'll talk about later. But as we digress back to this main event, Kenny is the new champ.
I think
we're ready.
I think that, I could go on about this for a little bit, but to end that little mini segment of the show where we're talking about this collaboration, this mindset, this good business mindset that AEW is showing. This ties back also into Cody's, open challenge, where we got to see, think about it. We get Eddie Kingston out of that. And can you imagine AEW without Eddie Kingston?
No.
So there's a lot to be said for that. And I think, we here at Dynamite Download, we're really big about helping others climb while we climb.
Exactly.
I love encouraging other podcasters Just because I want my podcast to be successful doesn't mean that I want someone else to fail.
Right. For sure. It's not a battle.
No. And so I love that. And I love the fact that, like you talked about, we as an AEW family seem to be overall pretty positive, and we do we're getting heard. If you are interacting with with the wrestlers on social media, be cognizant of that. They're hearing your voices, so be aware of what you say. Try to be positive. Try to build up the company that you love. And this is an example, right, SPD? I mean, you have been calling for the cleaner to be the world champion. I had you repeat this line a couple shows ago about how if AEW does not put the title on Kenny Omega, it will be the biggest mistake that the company has made in their short history. And they listened to your advice, my friend, and in incredible fashion, in a way that, it's so hard to have a moment of the night.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
But, Kenny Omega winning and running off with that title, even on a show where we had a battle royal like that, even on a show where we had the Inner Circle threatening to potentially implode and be done forever, even on a show where we had, legitimately Sting, an icon that we all grew up watching, him coming back. Somehow, some way, Kenny Omega managed to be the guy that's on all of our lips right now. I mean, the guy is just absolutely stealing the wrestling world right now, and I think this new gimmick, him leaning into the darker side of Kenny Omega, is something that really distinguishes him. I can't wait. This gets a clear-cut elite from me.
Yeah.
I thought that the story was really well executed. There was no doubt in my mind that these guys were going to deliver in the ring, right? We're talking about two of the best in the world, and that's not hyperbole. That is, you can rank it however you want. If you look at the body of work and what these guys are capable of doing, they are legitimately as good as it gets in the business right now. These are the type of guys that we will be talking about, just like people talk about the icons. We just had a lot of Undertaker appreciation come up, right? These are the type of guys that are going to be leaving that kind of legacy. And we can't state that in a way that is overshadowed by any other moment in the night. So I want to give these guys the praise for what they did tonight. The match delivered. And for me, that's one of the things that I want to highlight. When you have this kind of pressure put on you, pressure either makes diamonds or it bursts pipes. And this could have been one of those moments where we could have hyped. We could think about how many times in our lives as wrestling fans where we've been so hyped for a match, so hyped for a show. We built it up in our heads so much, and then we come out disappointed. Yeah. I can tell you there were countless times as a kid where I walked out kind of bumming, this was not one of those matches, man. This was one of those matches that had the stakes where literally we were talking about on Twitter, this is the type of show that can change the path and the trajectory for AEW. If this show delivers in the ratings like we believe it should, this is the type of show that could really change things. And, to put the title on Kenny Omega, you were calling for it. It really signifies a new era of the company. I really do think that the ratings are going to show. They're going to reflect what we saw on social media. And what we felt in our hearts watching the show, that this was a special night. And I think that it's going to be an incredible show. Hats off to these two guys. Honestly, the match was incredibly brutal. You showed earlier on in our recap, you see it right there. Top performer of the night.
We have to go out of order here because we're talking about Kenny Omega, and we both agree. Top performer by far of the night. Well-deserved, pretty platinum, hand held high.
I gotta say, SPD, I was texting you and we were talking about it on social media. Every week it feels like we struggle with top performer of the night. And going into the main event, I was prepared to say Sting. I even had a moment where really Powerhouse Hobbs, that guy was a monster. He did exactly what I was hoping he would do tonight. That dude put on a show. There were a lot of people that you could have, and we struggle with it every week.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's a good thing. But tonight, I feel like it's not a coincidence. This is a unanimous decision. When a guy beats John Moxley, you got to put respect on that guy's name. He's the guy who's beaten Eddie Kingston, beat MJF, beat Lance Archer, beat Brody Lee. The list goes on
Jericho.
and on. Yeah, I mean, exactly. He is. Moxley has solidified himself as an icon and a pillar of AEW, and we have to give our respect for him as a champion and during a tough era too. But I think all of us are top performer of the night. All of us are so excited about Kenny Omega and this title reign that's coming up. I just the way his character is gone. I don't know about you guys. I love this about AEW. I love how they build the story naturally. The way that those two broke up after Kenny and Hangman broke up, we really saw the writing on the wall that the cleaner was coming.
Mm-hmm.
Tonight was the coronation of the cleaner. It was.
I love how you put that. Yeah.
So that said, we talk about top performer of the night. I'd like to hear what was Bonds' top moment of the night.
Hey everybody, welcome to Bonds' biggest moment of the night. Man, I cannot believe Sting is back. That is my biggest moment. The Stinger is back on TNT after almost 20 years. This is insane. I can't believe he's back. I thought he was done with wrestling for good, but I guess not. This is pretty insane for me. I'm sure every AEW fan is stoked. SPD and Crayfish, I want to hear your opinions. And if you want to see the rest of mine, go on to my column at AEWDynamiteDownload.com. Can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this one.
Man, Bonds couldn't say it better himself, man. The biggest moment of the night by far for him was that Sting is all elite. And as the announcers put it,
and announcing
multi-year.
Tonight. Wow. Guys, I don't know about you. And this is something that, again, we talk about AEW really giving back to the fans by embracing wrestling history, by embracing the wrestling community at large, recognizing that, hey, there are people who have done this really well before us. This is an example of that. Bringing in an icon like Sting. How many countless moments have you had growing up watching the Stinger, watching him interact with icons like Ric Flair, watching him interact with the NWO? That's not even mentioning his role in Impact, which we just saw another partnership announced tonight. So, I mean, really, guys, that in and of itself speaks volumes. I can't wait to see what Stinger's going to do. So many of the Darby Allin fans around the world have to be just geeking out right now. What a massive statement by Tony Khan and the AEW brass to pair up Darby Allin as the TNT champion, the face of the brand, and pair him up with an icon as recognizable as Sting. That shows that AEW is going all in on Darby Allin. SPD, what were your thoughts on the Bonds' biggest moment of the night? How are you feeling when you saw "Woo!" the Stinger, baby?
Woo is right. I mean, when those lights hit to go all dark in that intro, and I was just like, what the heck is going on? I had no idea what to expect.
Intro really quick, man. Mikey Ruckus, dude, like that music, if that was by Mikey, which we think it was, haven't yet to be able to confirm that on social media, but if it was, what an intro that was. The snow coming down, like that was a moment, wasn't it?
Oh, that was incredible.
That was Bob's
the build.
Biggest moment.
I mean, it should have been all of our biggest moment, and there were so many points of this card, and this winner is coming. And not to get sidetracked, but I completely agree that this was probably the biggest AEW Dynamite show that they have ever had. And it's easy to say that because it's so fresh, but
yeah,
you talk about a smooth, well-paced, well-polished show, great feel to it.
Do you have that tweet that I threw out there about, like this all being in 2 hours?
Oh, I'll find it for you. But
yeah, pull that tweet up when you have a second. But I mean, that you just said it. You think about all that happened tonight, guys. We saw a battle royal take place. We saw Britt Baker go head to head. We got to see Britt Baker and the women's division featured a little bit tonight, guys.
Mm-hmm.
We got to see the Inner Circle go on, and then we literally got. I mean, think about Sting coming back, Kenny Omega beating John Moxley. Think about all we saw tonight in a 2-hour show.
Oof.
It just
Unbelievable.
The pacing, SPD, like you were just saying, not to cut you off, brother, but like the pacing of this show is so tight.
Mm-hmm.
So much is happening.
And I love it. You know, you don't have those, not to bash anything else, but you don't have that much downtime. And yes, of course, it's not the smoothest overall, but the pacing is great. I mean, you fit 5 good matches on TV, and I've said it before, and it's just unfortunate about the picture-in-picture. I still like it, but it's hard to stay. For me, it's hard to stay attention grabbing while in picture-in-picture because you have these commercials.
Would you rather they just go to straight commercial?
I think I would. But you know, here we go. Here's their tweet right here. So talking about the sheer amount of great content we get in a weekly 2 hours of Dynamite truly does make some other shows seem so much slower, less impactful. What an incredible company. And props to Tony Khan and AEW for doing this, putting it together. I can't imagine what it's like to be in gorilla position, just calling all this stuff. And they could put a 4-hour show on and still be amazing. And they're not.
I agree.
But, you know, talking about the Sting, back to that top moment, it was incredible. You know, just, you know, he doesn't have to do really any physicality, but just the fact that your presence alone literally runs chills through down their neck and spine and puts fear in people's eyes legitimately is a testament to the icon Sting. And I was Sting for Halloween in 6th grade. You know, I was the red and black Sting. I had my trench coat. I spray painted my hair black. I had the baseball bat. I'll never forget that. I wish I had a photo of that, but
that's awesome.
Off the bat. And where it goes from here, you know, it's very interesting. You know, I guess we'll segue right into the match after that.
Yeah.
There's a lot to talk about the match, and we can, you know, circle back into what happened after the match, because it was a great match, you know, and I loved, you know, the entrances were great and it was a well-paced match. And you talked about Hobbs being really strong, and I thought he did look very strong, and he's growing every single week, growing better and better. And I mean, all 4 of these guys in this match are, to me, top-notch stars. You know,
really, you said it well. This is a combination of guys who, if you ask 10 different people, you might, you know, you're gonna have 10 different answers on who the favorite person is, who the most bankable star is. You really, I mean, honestly, this is an incredible pairing of talent, a blend of guys who have experience, a blend of guys who have upside. This was an awesome match for me. Like I was. When I saw this match, I've been clamoring for Hobbs to join Team Taz. I've been clamoring for him to just embrace being a big bad motherfucker, you know, just beat the heck out of everybody, right? And before the show, I was eyeing the card, and you know, the obvious ones, the Omega and Moxley match stood out, the Battle Royal stood out, right? But and I got some good conversation tonight about the Baker match because I'm a DMD fan, but this match was sneaky good for me because I wanted Willie Hobbs to just beat the hell out of Darby Allin. I just wanted him to throw him around and enjoy beating him up, you know, just like
he definitely did that for sure.
Be a bully, right? Just be a bully about it, just muscle him around. And you know, I'll say Darby you and I have had so many conversations about Darby's character, right? And he has really been, there are a few characters on AEW television that we will say define the brand, right? I think that Darby being paired with Cody that's a great example of 2 people who are. I think Orange Cassidy is quickly becoming that, right? There are certain characters on this show that when you think AEW, you think those guys. And Darby, to this point, although he's a TNT champion, really has shown to be more of a whipping boy, you know, like a rag doll. Yeah. And this is something that was so frustrating to you. You know, you and I had this conversation about it. You know, when he was getting beat up by Brian Cage, you're like, man, I want Darby to start to look strong.
I know.
And I was trying to tell you, like, I think his resiliency is what makes him strong. But after tonight, with a convincing win, with that awesome coffin drop off the top, I mean, that was a beautiful coffin drop tonight. For those Darby Allin fans tonight who want to capture like a good gif of a coffin drop, tonight's was perfect.
Yeah.
But for him to get a guy like Sting as his advocate,
Hopefully,
I think we're gonna.
I don't know.
I think we're gonna see a whole nother side of Darby. I think we're gonna stop. The beatings that he's gonna take. Stinger, you as a guy like you said, the 6th grade version of you carrying around that baseball bat. I got a feeling that Sting's gonna teach Darby how to stick up for himself, and it's gonna be a really beautiful pairing. I can't fathom a better matchup for a young star like Darby Allin. I'm so excited. They're going to create all these little new Stingers, Stinger fanboys across the world, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think as you talked about it, if it's true that Sting is essentially like his Taz to Ricky Starks, and essentially like that, I could see Darby kind of adopting the baseball bat gimmick, in a sense like that. That'd be kind of a nice like torch passing the torch. I know, but like as this weapon, it could be something, that's really an ode to Sting. The match was, Cody had some nice hot moments too, when he did that Cody cutter off the top rope.
Cody's always incredible.
Yeah, he's always fun to watch.
We take him
and
for
sadly,
in AEW, we do, don't we?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like we don't appreciate Cody as much as we should. It's easy to take a guy like him for granted because every time he's out there, he never cuts a bad promo.
No.
Ever. His matches, yes, they can sometimes be for me, and I've mentioned sometimes he can make every match an epic match, right? Sometimes it can be a little overkill. But that's a criticism that I'd take it. I'll take it because he leans into the storytelling.
For sure.
98% of his matches benefit from that epicness, and so he's really smart about telling that story in the ring. And he's a perfect blend of like strength because he's a beast, but still being athletic where you can hang with anybody, right? And so he makes for such a good base. He's just such a great all around polished wrestler. And
I agree. He was great in this, and sadly, like not sadly, but for once, or for the first time in a long time, like he was not necessarily the one to talk about in this match. He had some great moments, but it's not like you're like, oh, did you see Cody in this match? You're not talking about even without Sting. You'll be talking about Darby getting the pin.
Man.
Hobbs and Darby. I think those are the two ones that shined in the match. What I really loved about the match was that the Darby and Cody went right after them right away.
Yeah.
Before the bell, they went after him. But the only bad thing I'm going to say about this match is
let's
nothing
see.
with the match.
Let's get into that.
Yeah, nothing with the match itself, but the fact that they went to commercial less than 60 seconds into the match, and it wasn't even picture in picture. So you see them attack it, and then they go to commercial, and I'm like so confused, like at this random commercial when you literally the bell doesn't even ring and there's fighting going on. So that's the only bad thing I'm going to say about the match. The match for me definitely wasn't elite. We saw Hobbs look like the powerhouse he is. We saw Darby get the pin and the coffin drop finish finally, even though he did get a little crash test dummy-esque thrown around, but he ended up with his head held high and his hand held high with the victory, and it's a great win by the team. And it was fun to see Arn Anderson start throwing bows, and then they bring the FTW title in. There's so many different stories that are going to be coming from this. And then if you watched Dark last night, you had the Gun Club come out there mimicking Taz with the towels over their head. So, you can throw in the Gun Club trio versus the Taz trio. And so you can get some momentum on the Team Taz because obviously they would probably take down the Gun Club. And then you can still kind of intertwine this. Now Dustin Rhodes is involved. And so, you have this great feud of core guys that it's going to last for a while, and it's going to be exciting to watch. And unfortunately, we didn't get any traction of that whole promo about the FTW title. It'll be interesting to see where they go from there. Hopefully we'll hear next week's Dynamite on what the status about that is, but maybe Sting will have something to say about that. And then there'll be kind of some stipulation match or what, but it's going to be this could be main event stuff, and it should be main event stuff depending on the week.
I would say
an elite match for sure.
Yeah, I would say that Team Taz has proven that they can hold up in a main event, right? I think that it's telling that we didn't say really anything about Ricky Starks in all of our conversation about this match at this point. And, up to this point, Ricky Starks has been the most polished, buzzworthy star of Team Taz. I mean, every time he's on commentary, every time he's in the ring,
Mm-hmm.
Starks feels very comfortable in his own skin,
Sure.
and that shows on camera. There are some people who struggle, who you can feel are trying really hard to make this work. Starks never feels that way. That guy always feels comfortable, confident, cool, in control of everything. And because of that, you can really see his stardom rising. When you have a guy who, no matter how much pressure you put on him, he always seems to feel kind of cool and has it together. Well, that's a guy that you can turn to when the going gets tough. So
Oh yeah.
I think AEW has something with Ricky Starks there. That said, man, this match is an elite out of me because one, obviously the overall takeaway that we got from that moment that we got to see with Ricky Starks battling it out. We ended up seeing really Darby Allin getting that nod of approval from Sting. It was an incredible overall match. We get that big moment, but I was impressed by the fact that, and you said this earlier, so many stories are being told on AEW. We really get to see here the continuation of Willie Hobbs,
Mm-hmm.
Powerhouse Hobbs, turning into like really the baddest dude in the crew. You see, that continuation of the Ricky Starks and Darby Allin feud that's been going on for how long now?
Yeah.
There's just so much that we can gather out of this, and I love that. I love that about what AEW does. It really, Jericho talked about it. One of the things that they push in this company is to tell a full story, beginning, middle, and end. And it rewards us as fans to see that play out. And I think that what we're seeing with, you just mentioned, the Gun Club now getting involved, is that development of Team Taz versus the Nightmare Family.
Mm-hmm.
You saw tonight, Dustin Rhodes got involved, Arn Anderson got involved, the Gun Club got involved. Cody, we sometimes forget Cody's got an army with him, right? Just because he's the good guy doesn't mean that he doesn't have this huge army behind him. So Team Taz might have bit off more than they could chew when it comes to getting involved with the Nightmare Family, because we just saw Dustin's out there, and you don't want to mess with Dustin. That dude is a beast. He's 50 plus, and my man is killing it right now.
Yes.
So you got the Gun Club, who, again, like we've seen them on Dark, those guys, and we actually saw Austin Gunn win recently on Dynamite and event not long ago. So there's a lot to like about what we're gonna see here. I was just incredibly impressed more than anything. I left this match feeling like multiple people were kind of made as stars.
Yeah.
Willie Hobbs had that moment. Sting and Darby had that moment. And Ricky Starks continued to show. And that's what I loved about the Battle Royal. The Battle Royal had that feeling where, especially when you talk to, like, as we talk about it going forward, right, guys, as a community, I have a feeling you're going to talk to different people, and each of them are going to have different moments where they feel like this was a star-making moment, or this was a star-making feud or segment that was showcased in the Dynamite Diamond Battle Royal. I know a lot of fans out there were buzzing about Hangman Page and the Dark Order and all that we got to see during that. I know you and I loved, more than anything, we loved seeing our picks last week, Sammy and Wardlow doing incredibly well and lasting until the Final Four. So we loved that. We loved, more than anything, we enjoyed the Miro being showcased as an absolute monster in this, right? So, and as an example, this match was a perfect showcase of how AEW builds different stories, different characters, has people interacting with each other. It was just an awesome all-around showcase, and I feel like so many different people you could claim had the biggest moment of that Battle Royal. SPD, what was your takeaway on the Battle Royal? How do you feel? Was that an elite or delete out of you? And following up on that, who do you think was the star of the Battle Royal? I know that we have MJF and Orange Cassidy in the finals now. They're going to battle next week for the winner. MJF's going to get a chance to go one-on-one and defend his Dynamite Diamond Battle championship ring, which is interesting. It's kind of cool that worked out that way.
Right.
But who do you feel like had the star-defining performance tonight?
You know, it was very interesting how I love that they started the show with this, but it was kind of weird how they're like, oh, and by the way, there will be two winners and they're going to face off next week, which is fine, I guess, to extend it. We're all shocked, and on social media is like, what the heck? But I was reading some people's posts and said they did this last time as well. So I wasn't really familiar with when they did that last one, MJF won, but you know, the two guys that won, I think, were the least impactful in the whole battle royal, honestly. You know, Orange Cassidy was a forgetful performance. But MJF had a forgetful performance. And, you know, it's hard not to say Miro had the top performance of the battle royal, you know, with him just cleaning house and finally looking like an absolute beast that he is, which he has done over and out. You know, he's on like a roller coaster right now. You know, he comes out and just absolute tear. And then all of a sudden you have some kind of weak, low moments that don't really make sense. And now he's just performing awesome in the battle royal. And then, I mean, Wardlow and Miro right here.
SPD, wait. Can we just get a visual right there? Holy shit. Wow. That is a moment right there, guys. I mean, when you talk about like a stare down, that's
a match I want to see.
Wow, that is a feud. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, man. You had a great take, but that you had that picture up there, and I'm just like, holy smokes. It took me back because that was such a tease. Those two going at it in that match was and this is why so many people loved what Miro's performance was tonight. Was Miro just absolutely was a hoss. He was throwing people around left and right. My man was tossing people over the top. That was the Miro performance of, you know, really the defining performance, the breakout performance for Miro on AEW. And it kind of was random, right? Like you just said. Yeah. Last week he was in a forgettable segment, and now all of a sudden he's the most dominant force in the Battle Royal. Kind of interesting. But that showdown between he and Wardlow was just absolutely epic, wasn't it? I want to see those two go head to head, man. And it just makes me want to see those Hoss Fest with Wardlow more. As a Wardlow fan, I want to see Wardlow against Hager. I want to see Wardlow against Miro. Unleash the Ward Dog.
Just give Wardlow against anybody. Put him back in the ring in a one-on-one. You know, it would have been great that it was Wardlow and MJF, you know, head to head.
That's
which
what I was
eventually we'll eventually get that for sure. But this battle royal, I hope, really plants the seeds for future feuds because there's so many different things going on. You know, I can't wait to see more Spears and Scorpio Sky. Those guys had a great match, and I'm hoping to see another one. And then you have what is very interesting, you know, the Dark Order. You know, I love Johnny Hungy over here on Hangman. Hangman Adam Page is back, and then the Dark Order catching him. I mean, that's very intriguing as well.
Right.
You have the Miro cleaning house, and you have the Inner Circle just sitting in the corner, kind of waiting for things to go through. And Sammy and Jungle Boy jumping around all crazy, which was outstanding.
Wow.
I mean, Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus on Dark last night were outstanding, and I tweeted it for us.
You're a big Lucha. I know you like
for a big guy that can move. You're a big
Luchasaurus fan. I know that. I love that. I think that like it goes back to, man, the AEW tag team division is just absolutely incredible. I love the AEW tag team division. You know, and we'll get into that next. But I just wanted to say, like, for this match, so I want to get into that down. SPD, was Miro, you talked a lot about Miro here. Is he your top performer of this battle royal?
I think he was, yes. The more I think about it, you know, he had the most memorable performance. You had like the wow factors of like the surprises and then the interesting feuds. I mean, even Matt Hardy, you know, like he had a pretty interesting and fun.
Hardy was great.
Yeah, it was very entertaining to watch, and I was happy to see him dominate a little bit. I was sad to see John Silver get eliminated so soon, but whatever, you know, it was a fast, well-paced, placed position on the card to open the show that way. It could have been a little longer, but, you know, it had its place and it told a lot of stories. And then it just, you know, segued into the next match. But, you know, for me, it's definitely an elite match with a lot of stories that I want to see, that I'm eager to see, that I hope that they do continue to down the line. So for sure, the Battle Royal was an elite. It'll be interesting. It makes sense now that I think of Orange Cassidy wearing that ring, just having it out like, the way he does his handshakes, just like this. So,
Yeah.
having that ring, I can
Yeah.
see Sammy Guevara costing MJF the ring, and then you're going to have some crazy turmoil with the Inner Circle for sure.
So, I almost bordered on picking this as a delete, honestly. The main reason why is because of the two participants that won.
Right.
I feel like you mentioned it was really not this wasn't a showcase of the top two performers of that. I feel like, and they missed out on a storytelling opportunity or two that would have been, I think, a bit of it more, not to tout our show, but I do think that your idea with Sammy winning, Sammy and MJF going head to head would have been awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, and it would have also tied into what we saw with Jericho's match against Kazarian, right? That would have been a really nice way to have those two matches flow into each other, telling a common story about the Inner Circle's struggles and possible implosion. And next week's show would then be even more must-see, because then it would be like, are they going to be able to go head to head and still stay together?
Right, exactly.
I think that Sammy versus MJF would have been a beautiful opportunity, and I called for Wardlow because I'm a Wardlow fan, and I think the guy is an absolute star, and I think that there are a lot of us who are chomping at the bit to see him get. And again, I don't want to rush him breaking away from MJF. I know that's the long story. I get that, right? And we have to hold out that carrot, right? But
mm-hmm.
I'm also at a place where, as a fan, we are put in situations where mostly he's being used as a guy who's standing around.
Yeah.
And that's not the right use of his talent. It's just not. He's way too good in the ring to not utilize him in more opportunities. So I struggled. I almost made it a delete because, again, you just mentioned Miro was truly the dominant force in that match. And I'm not super juiced about Orange Cassidy versus MJF next week, even though that is on paper a match of two of AEW's biggest stars, perhaps its most popular babyface and most hated heel.
True.
Right. So
yeah.
I have to come around and maybe step back because I'm not the biggest Orange Cassidy fan. I mean, he's okay in my book. I know you love him. That's okay. We're all different in the way we like wrestling. That's cool.
Yeah.
But I think that MJF versus Orange Cassidy is a cool matchup, though. I think that is when I step back from my immediate reaction of wanting to see Wardlow or maybe see Sammy from a storytelling perspective, see those two guys pair up against MJF. I will say AEW is going all in, man. Like, they're putting all their cards on the table. MJF versus Orange Cassidy is legitimately top, like the most hated heel and the most over babyface in the company. And they're two young stars too, right? So this is going to be a feud that could potentially be one that goes on for a long time. I have a feeling that Orange Cassidy could be the type of character that gives MJF fits, drives him crazy. So that'll be interesting, So that said, I am going to give it an elite just because it was such a great overall performance. There were a lot of stories that were told, and I love battle royals in general. I think battle royals are a lot of fun.
Yeah, me too.
It's just a great way to get a lot of different people opportunities and
build
when
stories.
Utilized right, like tonight. When utilized right tonight, you get to see so many different stories progress tonight, and I feel like Miro really at the end, even though he didn't win, I think most people what they're going to remember out of that battle royal was Miro's intensity and his interaction with the best friends. That feud has been one that we've been really like down on, but when Miro came out at the end of that and his eyes were like ready to bulge out of his head. And he looked like he was going to choke Trent. It was just an incredible moment. And I think that overall it was that was enough of a reason for me to say, hey, this is something that is an elite out of me. Moving forward, SPD, you and I on that battle royal, like I said, we were hoping for maybe a little bit more of an Inner Circle face-off. What were your thoughts on the Jericho versus Kazarian match and Jericho's huge announcement afterwards?
You know, it's really impressive to me, Jericho as the leader of the inner circle, he's leading by example, which is as a leader, you should. He's the oldest in the group and he's busting his ass week in and week out in the ring, whether it be a tag match or now you're seeing a singles match. And he put on, it was a lengthy match and a lot of physical spots. And, Kazarian did that suplex off the top rope on Jericho. As the leader, you're leading by example, which is great, but also you should be calling the shots to be like, no, Sammy's going to fight my battle. Hager's going to fight my battle. Like, you're going to be doing this to preserve you as the leader.
His troops. He should
Yeah,
be able to
trust
trust
the
his
troops
troops
is
to
a
do
good
that.
thing.
And I feel like you're saying he can't right now, right?
I don't know. I mean, clearly after the match, he can't trust his troops. And, leading up to the match, Jericho with that jacket, he is the king of all jackets, man. I need to get one of Jericho's jackets because it is
awesome.
just
His
king of
jacket's put
jackets.
my jacket to shame. That guy is a beast with his jacket.
I'm not even going to wear a jacket because I don't even want to even compete. But the match itself, I love that the inner circle was ringside cheating. It really just solidified them as like a dirty, rotten, team. And it was perfect for that. Jericho is definitely performing excellent in the ring. He's got some great stamina for his age. He's taking a lot of abuse and a lot of big moves, and it's not a phone home match ever with him. And yeah, it was the flux capacitor off the top rope that Kazarian did. And Kazarian was impressive for sure. And, after the match with the butting heads of the inner circle, I was surprised that it was happening this soon, after all this going on.
Yeah.
I don't ever want the inner circle to break up fully. Because, we did on our Twitter poll and Instagram poll that, the top group in AEW, Inner Circle, did take the win.
All say it's
fans
the Inner
spoke.
Circle.
So I don't know if you break off the Inner Circle. Where was Santana tonight? I don't know if there was anything with that. But back to Orange Cassidy, if Orange Cassidy beats MJF, that means Orange Cassidy have wins over MJF and Jericho. So then you kind of throw in some other like bragging rights in that essence, where do you go from there? If Orange Cassidy beat both guys that are trying to lead the inner circle, essentially, there's a lot of interesting storylines, but the match was well paced. I love the shenanigans in and out of the ring, and afterwards it was very impressive to me, Jericho getting on the mic right away after that, winded match, and he's still catching his breath.
He still fought through it, didn't he?
He still fought through it. The match is an elite for me overall, because I did see some very impressive moves, and both guys, had some pretty good chemistry. And then, of course, the whole storyline afterwards, it was great, with the Sammy grabbing the towel from MJF and all this. And so it made it much more interesting than it was on paper, for sure, as Jericho always does. It's not just on paper match,
he's not just having a steak dinner. He's not just having a steak dinner. It's turning into this elaborate song and dance routine, right? Jericho always has a way to over deliver, doesn't he?
And that's why we love him. That's why he's the GOAT.
Exactly. I mean, honestly, Jericho doesn't get the love and praise that he should get. That guy is he's one of the greatest of all time. I mean, he really truly is. He's always entertaining. I gotta say, like, again, some of the criticism that he gets, you can't believe these people are criticizing a 50-year-old guy out there who's still hanging with somebody who has the cardio of Frankie Kazarian. Like, tonight's match was a great example, right? Frankie Kazarian is as well-tuned athlete as anybody on the show.
Mm-hmm.
The guy can go with anybody. He can hang. And for Jericho to be able to go one-on-one with him and have a great match and have it really be a smooth match. Those two went honestly, at no point in time did you ever feel like Jericho was gassed and couldn't hang with Frankie Kazarian tonight, right? So I think that goes a long way in showcasing. And this is what I've been clamoring for. We need to see the Painmaker back. We need to see Jericho lay, and that's what I loved about this segment. SPD was, he laid down the law. He's sick and tired of the antics, the back and forth that his team is having. He's sick and tired of the fun and games, the jokes, and the infighting, the bickering They need to get on the same page. He's focused, and a focused Chris Jericho. When we think about the new world champion Kenny Omega, there's going to be few challengers who are more, enticing for us fans than to see a Painmaker versus Omega match again. Those guys have such great history with each other, and we know that they can tell a story, that they can have an incredible match. And we're seeing more and more planted seeds of Jericho kind of being more of a face. We're seeing him, yes, he's the Painmaker, and yes, he's kind of, his team is, cutting corners and stuff like that. But we're seeing Jericho, signs of Jericho that have been entertaining, that he's been willing to kind of laugh at himself. There's a little bit more of that excitement out of Jericho. So I'm willing to see, I want to see where this goes, SPD. I think that Jericho certainly needs to grab the group by the neck and pull them together. I'm with you. I don't want to see the Inner Circle break up. I want this group to get stronger. I mean, when we think about all the great memories that the Inner Circle has been able to provide us over the course of AEW television, and now adding MJF and Wardlow, I want to see those guys accomplish things together before things break up. I want to see them make an impact together before they break up. I want to see them be forced to get along and slowly but surely have each other's back. When you think about what these guys are capable of as a team, there would be no greater force in wrestling if they really put their skills together and were focused on a common goal.
Oh yeah.
You just mentioned where was Santana tonight? That guy, when you pair him and Ortiz up together, those two are, they're dogs, man. Their dogs are so fun
I miss
to
them
watch.
in the ring.
And I love, I also loved that the end of this match too, and this is one of the reasons why I'm going to give this an elite, was the end of this match called back on MJF's history of throwing in the towel.
Yes.
It's that common storytelling that AEW is focusing in on, is making sure that we recognize these characters, that they have definable characters, that we draw back on history and we're reminded as fans of past memories. So this is a great example of MJF potentially turning on and throwing in the towel on his new best friend, Chris Jericho, just like he did with Cody.
Yeah.
Just a really interesting, great story being told. And some great, you and I are so excited with the different crews and factions that are in AEW right now.
Oh gosh, yeah.
When we look at the star power in the Inner Circle, it's something that I've been wanting to talk to you about. How do you rank the Inner Circle far as like, who are your favorites in the Inner Circle? Personal favorite? It's such a, it changes all the time. And that's why, if we were to talk about that right now, we'd look back on it in 2 weeks and be like, no, I would have flip-flopped 5 or 6 of these rankings, just because all of these guys legitimately are amazing. They're so fun to be fans of. Even a guy like Jake Hager, we talk about, like, his personality. He's really benefited from being associated with Jericho. We can think about all the humor that we got from when Jericho would talk about Big Jake and how he would just stand there emotionless and not say anything. His MMA career has really blossomed, made him more of a legitimate tough guy. Just everybody in this group shows a lot of potential. I love Ortiz. And I think that the whole group I'm mastering it. It's like, I feel like I'm a kid again trying to practice the people's elbow with Ortiz's mouth.
Oh gosh, yeah.
His lips thing. So I don't know. I think that this was a great match, and more than anything, I'm giving it an elite because I'm excited to see what's going to happen with the Inner Circle again.
And you talked about, like, I don't know if we're just looking into it too much, but you have the story with, like, Ortiz trying to maybe stop the match and then Hager pulling him back, say no. Like, is that kind of like some plan, or is this where we're looking into it? But it's, to me, the biggest underrated star of the Inner Circle is Sammy Guevara, and I think we're on the cusp of seeing him start to shine more. On Dark, he's had some good matches, and then he's getting on the mic and just saying how, hyping himself up. But I think
I
we're
think
going to
Sammy
see
could be
him,
an underrated babyface for sure.
I think he is babyface written all over him. Yeah. And
oh yeah,
very good one. He has got some amazing talent. But we can digress on all that all the time. But yeah,
Yeah,
this
and you
match
said
was
almost
great.
underrated. I mean, it's hard to say. Santana's a workhorse. I love what he's been doing lately, but I mean, Wardlow's my guy. So that said, underrated. When we're gonna transition out of this, right? We're gonna talk about the Young Bucks. Their feuds have been really underrated when we talk about who they're able to showcase. They're doing the Lord's work right now, trying to bring in other teams that need some shine, using their platform to give teams that maybe are underappreciated or maybe under recognized a platform to show off their talents. I'm really excited to see what these two guys, and legitimately they're easy to root for, right? The Young Bucks they seem like such good dudes when you follow them. You see how they treat their family, that you see how they appreciate where they're at and what their ability to live out their dream. So it's really easy to root for these guys.
Mm-hmm.
Just on a side note, right? I mean, I don't want to get off on a tangent there, but they just seem like such great guys. And that shows in what they're doing, right? Their championship reign. We talk about, I'm an FTR fanboy, and their championship reign was defined by them trying to talk smack about and really undercut all the other teams that they were facing. And the Young Bucks are quite the opposite, and that's such a great, such a great example of why those two teams are work so well as a feud, the FTR and the Young Bucks, because they're so polar opposite in their approaches to the business and their character.
Mm-hmm.
But I love what the Young Bucks are doing in that they're really focusing in on how can we use this platform not only to build up AEW's tag team division, but also give other teams an opportunity and really the company in some way to benefit from seeing new challengers step up to the plate.
For sure.
What was your thought process coming out of the Young Bucks promo? I know that there was some controversy on how that rap segment played out, and I'd love to hear kind of what your take was. I know that you and I are also loving what we're seeing out of TH2. So let's hear it, SPD. What were your thoughts on the Young Bucks segment? How did it stand up in the rest of the show?
So, leading up to this card, I was thinking to myself, I should have mentioned it to you, but I was like, this card is so stacked and it's like one of the best shows, yet we're not seeing the Young Bucks, which is, the best tag team in AEW currently. And I was okay with it. I love seeing them in the ring. Anytime I love it. And I think it's almost always an elite match with whoever they are. So even though they weren't featured on the card, I was okay with it. And it would have only made it stronger. But the fact that they had their little promo and set up the feud, it made sense last week, coming to save Top Flight with TH2. And it's nice to see TH2 kind of back on Dynamite after, a long time away from it. And I think they're a great team. So the overall segment, I think it's a great way to build for the future. And I, kind of echo you. I like that the fact that the Young Bucks are featuring these tag teams that haven't been featured for a while or not at all ever. So you're talking about 3 fresh teams
exactly
recently with TH2, Top Flight. I'm sorry, I don't even know the other guy. Those fresh guys that just got signed. The rap group. Please correct me. I don't even know. But that segment with them, talking smack about the book, I thought it was pretty funny.
You're good. You're good. I lost it too because I was too busy on Twitter reading everybody's struggle with that segment. It was the only segment of the night that people on a show that everybody was buzzing about. It was the only segment of the night that kind of got some weird.
The Acclaimed.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm sorry. I drew a blank there, but so
it's okay.
I get those guys were on.
People, that's in that I think not to be negative, but I think that people aren't remembering the name of the tag team coming out of that segment. They're more remembering it was kind of a
TH2.
Well, yeah, yes. Let's focus on the positive. All right, because yes, I think that TH2 again. I'm all in on Dirtbag Jack Evans. I love me some Dirtbag Jack Evans. That guy is so good at being a dirtbag. I love it. And I think that Angelico's continuing to benefit from leaning into this new kind of dirtbag persona as a tag team. He's letting Jack kind of take the lead in being that guy we all think is a scummy like jerk, and he's kind of benefiting from it. You could tell Angelico is more of like an incredible athlete, great MMA guy, and he kind of has that chill vibe. And TH2 kind of had like before this recent run, we couldn't really characterize who they were in AEW outside of their amazing color scheme, their entrance. You could only really describe TH2 off of visuals. Really,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't have a strong character background. So, now that Angelico is getting more to his character beyond just his sick dance.
Yeah.
Now that he's getting more to his work than that, I think that we're starting to get more and more invested in TH2, and that's an easy group to get behind as far as like bad guys that you want to see get their comeuppance, right? Because they're both really good at and what's nice, right? The best bad guys are the ones who have their motives rooted in some form of truth, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's I feel like when you have a group that even though their point is justified, right? It might be they're actually right. Like you have these new teams that come in and Top Flight's record's not better than TH2's,
No.
right? Yeah, like but TH2's brushed to the side because they're not the hot new thing. So,
Right.
I love when a character is the bad guy because they take it too far, but they are justified in maybe their point, right? And
Right.
that it's easier to connect with a character like that. And that's what I'm loving about what I'm seeing with TH2 is, I think that they're legitimately right in demanding a title match. Why are all these other and we can like it as fans to see these new young teams, but if you're an established tag team like TH2, you should be cutting this off and you should be jumping in and you should be demanding a title shot.
Right. I agree. And I think it's a nice segue off of FTR. And then it's kind of, filling the void for a little while until you get some. I can't see TH2 winning the titles.
No.
Anytime soon. Eventually,
No, I
possibly,
agree.
yes. But I think it's a good
They
time.
have their
They're
place,
gonna have some
right?
they're gonna have a great match with the Young Bucks.
Yes.
They maybe another rematch with Top Flight. Those guys are very, very exciting. And then you throw in the
in-ring
Acclaimed.
work that those matches are going to have are going to be incredible. There's no denying that, right?
Absolutely.
And just because TH2 might not win the tag titles doesn't mean that that's not worthwhile television. You're going to see TH2 and Young Bucks. They're going to the way their styles are going to mesh. Guys, as fans, you're going to really be surprised at how awesome that final product's going to be. Right. Their styles are going to really, really mesh well together.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like you said, TH2 and Top Flight, I guarantee you that match is going to be off the hook. Like it's going to like if they continue to have that, if we wait to see that feud continue, they're going to put on some great matches together. So I like that, and I think that the long play here is also it leaves the door open for FTR to come back, right? The Young Bucks, they could come. FTR could come back and say, while we lost the titles to you guys, and while we were gone, all you did was defend it against a bunch of unproven teams that have no track record. Meanwhile, FTR, their goal was always to beat like SCU, all these like they want to beat teams that are established and cement their legacy. Like FTR, being an FTR guy, if I was Tully, I'd be telling my guys like, wait a second. So you lose the tag titles, and these guys are just walking around and fighting a bunch of guys that were just getting hired to the company,
right?
And we're the bad guys. We're the bad guys, and you're gonna So that would be the long play for me, and I love the AEW tag division. So overall, this was a segment that I felt like really again, AEW's killing it with planting seeds for other matches, for long-term feuds. And no other segment of the night did that better, in my opinion, than the Britt Baker versus Layla Hirsch match. Since day one of Dynamite Download, I've been a fan of all sorts of people, SPD. But from day one, it's been Pac and it's been Britt Baker. And I think that for me, I feel like Britt Baker, every time you have her on a segment, every time she's in a match, every time she cuts a promo, there is nobody else on this roster who feels more naturally as a star than Britt Baker. she catches your attention. She keeps your attention. She's always on. There are a few people that you can rely on more than her to deliver every single time she's on. Every single time she's on television. And this was another great example. This is going to get an elite out of me. Before I segue it over to you, this is the match. This is the segment that I wanted to talk about the most, honestly. I feel like what AEW is doing with their women's division is absolutely right on track with what they should be doing. I feel like Britt Baker is the star that this division needs to be built around. They have a lot of great stars, and that's not me saying anything against people like Shida, who is the current champion and who's proven to be a great character recently with what she's doing with Abaddon. I love what they're doing with that. Shida actually has been doing great with her acting on that, and we to this point haven't been able to see her in that. But we at Dynamite Download, we love us some Thunder Rosa. We've been banging the drum for Thunder Rosa from the minute we saw her get on screen. Her entrance, her look, everything about Thunder Rosa makes you want to watch. She's electrifying the minute she gets on your television screen. There are all sorts of characters on this show that you could say could be the cornerstone or the foundation of the AEW's women's division. But I feel like the more that they focus in on a few characters, like you talked about, SPD, the more they focus in on building and establishing a few characters, clearly, the more we're going to get invested. And there are no two greater characters on the women's division right now. We're talking about Shida and Abaddon. That's going to be a great feud for the women's championship. But to me, Thunder Rosa versus Britt Baker is going to be an absolute jaw-dropper, star-making feud for both of these young ladies. I honestly feel like we talk about helping others climb while you climb.
Yep.
I have a feeling that iron sharpens iron, and when you put Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa together, we saw tonight that pull apart brawl. Some of the shots that those two girls got in on each other, I have a feeling that Thunder might have thrown a couple potatoes at Britt tonight. You had to pull those women apart from each other. I have a feeling that they genuinely are going to push each other. And I know Thunder Rosa's big about this. They're going to push each other to be better because they're going to want to be the best that they can be. They're going to push their opponent to be the best version of themselves. Yep. And that's going to put the best television that you could get on. Britt Baker is a big Pittsburgh Steelers fan. As a Browns fan, it breaks my heart to be a fan of hers. But her favorite team is undefeated, and I think Britt Baker is undefeated on AEW television when it comes to badass, perfect segments. SPD, what were your thoughts on the Britt Baker versus Layla Hirsch match? What are your thoughts on really Thunder Rosa coming through and again furthering that feud? I know you have to be on board with what we're seeing out of the women's division. This has to be exactly what you were hoping for when you talked about this weeks ago, right?
I mean, just to keep constantly repeating it because it's worth repeating. If you're going to grow a division, grow a core first. And no other better core than these two women right here. And Amen. These two are stars. We are Thunderholics through and through, Thunder Maniacs. We love what she's been doing. We've been following her on social media. And the fact that,
if you
I was itching.
Thunder on social media, it's a mistake. She's such a positive person.
Love the positivity.
Really, yes.
And she's doing some great stuff with young wrestlers. So definitely check her out for sure. But these two women by far are the core and what needs to grow with the AEW women's division. This match was outstanding.
Yeah, let's give Layla Hirsch her just due too. I mean,
no, I completely
the buzz is going to be about Britt, no doubt. The buzz is going to be about Britt and Thunder, right? But let's give Layla Hirsch some of her just due because we've seen her on television before. And the first time we saw her, yes, everyone was shocked that she's so short. Okay, let's get over it. All right, let's get over it. That girl can throw some suplexes, man. Right? She's like a little mini Brock Lesnar out there.
I honestly, Suplex City, baby. I thought she could have taken the victory from Britt Baker. This is the second only elite I've given to a women's match.
Look at the
Dynamite Download history. Because not only Britt Baker, I think, is an absolute star of the division and should be the president of the division, whether it be segments or in-ring ability. But
Yep.
the fact that Layla Hirsch, the announcers were putting her over, she had an outstanding performance. If she's not all elite and signed, they need to sign her because she definitely could be part of the core division. Sadly, yes, she is short, and Britt made it. It was perfect because it made Britt look like a giant for her.
It did.
But on top of Britt being looking like a giant, it still made Layla look strong because she was, the ground moves and all that. And the announcers were really doing a great job hyping up Layla, and it wasn't a squash match by any
No.
means. And some people will be like, "Who's this Layla?" And you look back at some of her other matches, but this was the strongest I've seen Layla. And Britt Baker put away a performer that was definitely worthy of a eventually title competitor. I think Layla has a lot of potential in AEW, and I hope to see more of her. But the fact that once again, the second week in a row for the women's division, they started with a promo, and it made it more meaningful. Even though it wasn't a promo about Layla, it was a promo about Thunder. It planted more seeds and grew that feud. And then at that point, you're like, okay. And then we're following Thunder all week. We're like, okay, I don't know if she's going to be at Dynamite tonight.
In Puerto Rico.
I know.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, boom, the Thunder came, the lightning came, and everything in between, and the post-match fight, and it had to happen. If you don't have Thunder coming out interrupting Britt's match back to back, like that's a very big missed opportunity.
Yeah.
And so I think what we're leading up to first is Thunder and Layla versus Rebel and Britt as a tag match, and then ultimately you look at Revolution, you give that build. I think you take the build up to Revolution for Britt and Thunder, which could be a co-headline main event.
AEW, take note. I mean, I totally
co-headline. It could be. I don't know what's going to be the headline, but I don't think AEW is in a position for a women's match headline yet. Their division hasn't grown yet, but it could be a second to last match by far. If anybody on the roster, it's Thunder and Britt Baker for the second to last match at a pay-per-view by far.
That says so much, SPD, coming from you. And honestly, with all the amazing feuds going on right now in AEW, when we're talking about the Death Triangle versus Kingston's family, we're talking about the Nightmare family against Team Taz. There's so much going on in AEW, and for you to recognize Thunder Rosa versus Britt Baker as potentially one of the top matches at the upcoming pay-per-view, that speaks volumes. I couldn't agree with you. I couldn't agree with you more. I really can't. I think that when we talk about what's going on in the AEW women's division, it really needs to start. The conversations need to start with Britt Baker. They need to really, and I think they are recognizing that she is the backbone of this division. They need to build her as the top ace of the division. She's got everything. I've said it from the get-go. I really think that Britt Baker has what it takes. I know that the buzz, a lot of it is about MJF and all these different characters that AEW has as far as younger characters, Orange Cassidy. As far as I'm concerned, there's no bigger bankable star than Britt Baker in AEW. So I think that's that pairing her up against Thunder Rosa, who, again, you and I have talked about at length. Every time she's on screen, she comes out with impact, with intensity, with fire. You can feel it as a fan. You can feel that love and that passion and that fire that she has inside her gut. That she's, again, you follow Thunder Rosa's story. She got involved in this business at a little older age, right? She's somebody who has gone after this because it's her dream, and she's trying to fight to make other women's dreams come true too, with some of the other stuff that she does with Mission Pro Wrestling.
Exactly.
So it's an incredible story to get behind, and you can feel her fire and passion every time she's on the screen. So when you pair her up against someone who's that fiery, so someone who's that intense, and who's that focused on a positive goal, and you pair that up against somebody who is really more focusing on themselves, the star, Britt Baker, right? You have Thunder Rosa, who's all about helping others and who's all about the community and giving back to wrestling community and the women of wrestling. And then you have Britt Baker, whose persona is all about herself. It's a great battle, and it's a great natural reason for why those two would hate on each other, right? Britt Baker,
for sure.
They can continue what they're doing on social media. Those two take pot shots at each other all the time. they're a great clash of the egomaniac and the Doctor versus the the underdog story of Thunder Rosa. And I think that we are seeing right here, right now, two of the pillars of this division going forward. This is going to be a showcase that all of us are going to have our eyes on. We love it. Cannot wait to see more of Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker going forward. Going to be so exciting.
I can't agree more, and I hope it's a long build, and we're going to get a lot of great women's wrestling finally. Next week's card is insane.
Yeah, talking about next week, right? Let's transition into that. You and I talking about the women's division. We are going to see more out of the women's division next week. We're going to see Abaddon in action, who has been tormenting Sheeta. So I'm interested to see how Abaddon and Sheeta interact later on next week. Beyond that, you're going to see Orange Cassidy and MJF as a follow-up from tonight's Battle Royal. You're going to see them determine the winner of the ring. Is MJF going to be able to defend that ring and keep it? We didn't talk much about that possibility. We almost assumed that OC would win it. That would be an interesting one. So what's going to happen next week? How's that going to play into the Inner Circle's future? MJF certainly is a key cog to the Inner Circle. So we're going to see the Inner Circle ultimatum. Chris Jericho is going to lay it all on the line. The team's either going to agree we're in this together as a team or we're breaking up. Cannot wait to see what happens out of that, no matter what. Like we talked about earlier in the show, SPD, every time Jericho's on, he always seems to over-deliver our expectations. That's going to be must-see. The Young Bucks versus TH2, we finally get to see Dirtbag Jack Evans go head-to-head with Matt Jackson. You get to see Angelico going up against Nick.
Yeah.
It's going to be a great matchup. We like I said earlier, I think this is going to be one of the more underrated matches of the week that could surprise next week. The styles of those
steal the show for sure.
Teams, the styles of those two teams going together is going to be so fun to watch. Can't wait for that one. You got Dustin Rhodes going against 10, which that's a surprising match. I didn't see that one coming.
I know. That was very surprising. I thought Dustin Rhodes maybe would possibly feud with someone in Team Taz, but it's interesting booking for sure. But I'm happy to see Dustin Rhodes back on TV again after the bunkhouse brawl. He's always fun to watch in the ring, and we're always huge fans of him, and always props to him.
Yeah, and what I like too is we're getting a chance to see 10 on television again.
Yeah.
10, that dude is jacked. That dude is killing it. You see 10, and you see what he is doing with the five and dime tag team with Alan Angels. Those two guys are secretly putting on some really good matches. We saw them kind of get it going viral with some of that tandem offense that they had in their matchup against the Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy.
That was a great main event last night at Dark, and
great
the Dark
match.
Order has sneakily has 3 great tag teams in the Dark Order.
They do.
So,
Dark Order is legit, man. I mean, if anybody's sleeping on the Dark Order, you're right. Reynolds and John Silver, Evil Uno and Stu Grayson, and the Five and Dime. That is 3 really sneaky good tag teams. So
is that their name, or are you giving that name?
I think that's what Alan Angels calls them.
Okay, I like it. I like it.
So I like that a lot. I think that's a cool tag name. But Dustin Rhodes, anytime he's in a match, you and I always feel like that's a treat. We don't get to see him on television nearly enough, but every time we do, it's always going to be a great match. I'm going to be tuning in because FTR is going to be back on television, baby. We're going to be going up against Brian Pillman Jr. and Griff Garrison.
I know.
Varsity Blondes getting a chance to go head-to-head with FTR. That's going to be a really fun match, man. I can't wait to see that one. Really, really excited about that. That's going to be secretly one of my favorite matches all week. I'm going to be pumping that one. And then Abaddon's going to go in action. We don't know who she's going up against, but we know that it's going to be terrifying and
something to be
nightmares
scared.
after you see it. And then in the main event, I'm reading this for the first time. Lance Archer and the Lucha Brothers are going to go against Eddie Kingston, the Butcher, and the Blade.
Did you miss that? Did you miss that announcement?
Oh my God! No, I missed that.
Wow.
Oh my gosh!
It is true, and honestly,
this show
quite
just
surprising.
Gets better.
It's very surprising, but very Lance Archer, like we've been interacting with him on Twitter, being the lone wolf and not joining any groups. it's interesting that he's joining with the Lucha Brothers, but this is going to be an outstanding match. And it just
Oh,
kind of,
God, dude, I am gonna be so
yeah.
geeked.
But where does
Holy
Pac fit into
smokes.
this? Like what do you go? Where do you go with that? This better be the main event, and it's going to be outstanding. Whew, a lot of talent in a ring at one time, and like I said last week, growing a new core. This is exactly what you're doing. The 7 guys, the 6 that are going to be performing next week, plus Pac. That's the new core that you're going to be growing towards the main event
Yep.
scene, and that's
Yep.
outstanding.
Yeah,
And it just makes for
I talked
great
about.
TV.
I used this phrase earlier, and I think it's very fitting because the Murder Hawk. I know he's a man of faith, but iron sharpens iron, and I think that you just keep talking about this core, these 7 going up against each other. Iron sharpening iron. Every time we see these guys in a match, and no matter what the pairing, no matter what the segment is about, whether it's a tag match, whether it's a one-on-one match with Pac versus Blade, whether it's a promo segment, they make each other better. They're pushing each other because they're all really good. Like
Yes.
the Butcher and the Blade and the Lucha Brothers are both legitimately some of our favorite tag teams here on Dynamite.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, they're both incredible teams, and so you know that they're going to be pushing each other in the ring. You know that they're going to be pushing their teammate to bring it so that they can hold their own and show out. And we talked about it this week on Instagram. We were sharing this. This was getting some love from you guys. The more we see them, the more fitting their name becomes, because the Butcher, when you talk about power, I love when he manhandles people, especially when he goes for that wheelbarrow suplex, when he holds up them by the gut and lets Blade come in and do the drop kick. Their tandem offense is awesome. The
Yes.
technique that Blade brings, that we're diehard fans of the Murder Hog Monster. All these guys being paired up the way they are, as a fan, SPD,
I can't
I don't
wait.
know what I'm most excited about in AEW, and that's what's so great, right? I mean, like I'm geeked about Omega winning the championship, and I
Yep.
can't wait to see where that goes. Moxley getting piped out of that loss in the way that show ended tonight was incredible. The tag division has always been something that I love.
Mm-hmm.
You and I are just talking about how excited we are about the women's division. It's just like there's so much that we're excited about, and it's so nice to be a fan and to be happy and to have things to look forward to every
I
week.
know.
It's just so great,
I
especially
completely
during
agree.
this tough time. So guys, that we're all about building each other up. We're all about rallying around each other. We're all about chatting about our favorite show on television. We're all about that AEW community. Go on our YouTube page, subscribe. We follow that. We love seeing the subscribe count go up. We are so thankful that you take the time to watch us two childhood friends just talking about our favorite thing in the world. Our interactions with you on Twitter are always buzzing. We try to give you that hot 48 for sure. Between Tuesday and Thursday, we're always dialed in working with you guys. But AEW Dynamite DL on Twitter. If you're not following us already, get on there. You're going to go on to AEWDynamiteDownload.com. You can find all this information on there. You can see Bonds' latest column. He's writing it up. He took the mantle over from me, so you'll see that transition into his column every week. And he's doing a great job carrying the load on that one. And then Instagram, SPD, you're always putting on incredible content on Instagram. I know that Twitter is really where we get so much traction with the AEW community, but Instagram, you're putting up these incredible posts, these pictures, all these video clips that you're showing, and we've been getting a lot of love from the AEW community and the wrestlers. So, guys, we really appreciate that. This is for us. This is a labor of love. This is something that we're passionate about. It's something where you're over in Denver right now.
I know.
You're in Michigan at midnight on a work night, and it's because we love this. We love this product, and we love interacting with you guys. We can't wait to talk about AEW Dynamite next week. This show was incredible. Next week's show, we just went over with you guys. I'm going to be geeking out hardcore over that main event.
Another home run show.
When you got the Murder Hawk out there with the Lucha Brothers, I can't wait. It's going to be such a great show. Guys, have a good one. SPD, thanks for joining with me tonight. Get some rest, brother. We'll talk tomorrow. Everybody hang in there. Be safe. Take care of each other. Talk to you next time.
Thank you.